Hey there, guys. Thank you for joining in. I am just getting things up and running. We're going to give folks a couple of minutes to join, but really looking forward to today's session. It's going to be a good one. So, again, we'll give people a couple of minutes and then we'll get up and running. Alrighty, I think we'll kick things off. Hey everyone, I am Meta Mike. I am someone who's very interested with metaverse related technologies, especially tinkering with them and figuring out what exists in the space, how things can be pulled together, and how we can make immersive experiences, especially as it pertains to Web3. Particularly interested in the intersection of decentralized technologies, ownership, self-sovereign identity, and how that all pertains to the metaverse that is being built and has been built for a long time now. But today we're going to focus on avatar interoperability, which is a uh, really interesting area for me. I really enjoy diving into this, and I've been playing in this field for just over a year now, testing out all these different technologies, how they can work together, and how people can bring their digital identity to life. Today, we're going to be looking at a couple of things. I'm going to hopefully get you up and running with a easy VTuber setup so that you can take a 3D character, turn it into the right file format, and start being able to stream with it. Going to look at a ton of different features that can be incorporated with that process. And then we're actually going to take a gaming controller and tap into Webiverse and be able to use that in world. So a lot to cover today. Let's get going. So starting off, I mentioned this concept of avatar for 3D models, and one of the key formats for avatars in this space is the VRM file format. VRM is an implementation of the GLTF file format, which is being noted as the JPEG, the 3D version of the JPEG for the internet. So it's very extensible. It's very standardized, meaning that we can bring it lots of places and things won't break. And it's a relatively new technology, so it doesn't have a huge amount of applications associated with it yet. However, that is building drastically day over day, and Webverse is one of the platforms that accepts VRM. So that's what we're going to look into. Um, VRMs can be used in not too many places, but a growing list. There's actually a page in the VRM dev website that shows you everywhere that you can utilize VRMs, and this is updated pretty regularly. But a lot of these applications and including things like LIV or Live, or Vroid Hub, which we'll go into in a second, allow you to port these avatars across to various instances of games and applications. So I would highly recommend having a look at this documentation to understand what a VRM is, how it's used, what you can do with it, and where you can use it. But let's move on to VRoid Hub. And talk about this company called Pixiv. So, VRoid Hub is a platform created by Pixiv. I could be pronouncing that wrong, but it allows you to upload various VRMs to this one portal that you can share your avatars with, give access to other people, and really kind of be a base home station for digital identity. Vroid also has Vroid Studio, which allows you to create avatars from scratch. And I know Webverse is building out something similar with Character Creator, but that is another application that's kind of within this Pixiv ecosystem. So you can go through and you can look at tons, thousands of different avatars created, all user generated content. And really, if we go down to one of the base characters, these are the VRoid Studio sample models. If I click on this one, it will bring me up to a model page and will allow me to inspect that model, learn about it, and also understand its permissions. So while that's loading, here we go. This is the avatar. It is in the VRM file format. I can move around, zoom in, zoom out, and inspect. But you can also see that this model has metadata associated with it in terms of what it can and can't be used for. So every time that you create a VRM, you're actually able to associate metadata towards it, including the author, the version, what it can be used for, and other things. So a lot of people use VRoid Hub as that baseline to upload their avatars and access it. And VRoid has a lot of different integrations natively within applications. So I don't know if you've had any exposure to something like Ready Player Me that has an SDK and is integrated with thousands of different applications. It works in a very similar way. Cool. So this is an example character. If I wanted to, I could use this model and I could say yes and download this model here. But I've got a few VRMs that I am going to utilize today to show as examples in this VTubing setup. So this is really how you go about accessing VRMs if you want. Webverse in the GitHub repository has a ton of different VRMs that are available there. If you want to use that, you can use VRoid Studio to generate your own, and you can find a lot of different ones online. But now you're also starting to see NFT collections build out extensive VRM avatars for each of the PFPs. So PFP may be a 2D image or a 2D video render of a 3D model, but the now brands and collections are starting to associate actual VRM files with the unique tokens. So anyone who owns an NFT also has the right to access the VRM file, which is really neat. And that's what I'm kind of talking about in terms of the intersection between Web3 and digital identity. Because if you own an NFT associated with a VRM file, that can really be linked to your wallet or even say an ENS. So you can actually tie that metadata, the links to the VRM file to your identity, and eventually we'll be able to see those avatars being used across various virtual worlds that integrate directly with the wallets to scan for the VRMs and pull that data through so that you can use that model in world. Okay, a lot of talking there. So let's move on to the next step, which is VMagicMirror. VMagicMirror is a platform that accepts VRM file formats directly, but is also integrated with VRoid Hub. So if you upload something to VRoid Hub, or if you have an avatar in there, you can actually load it through. It's a pretty lightweight solution and is really good if you're wanting to start out testing a VTuber setup. I've used things like Unreal and some Unity instances for this, but VMagic Mirror, you can't really beat it because it's very, very user friendly. So you just want to go in, download VMagic Mirror, and what I'm going to do is go pull it up. As you'll see, it's made with Unity, and today, rather than kind of baking something out from the get-go, I'm going to start from scratch and look at this, reset settings. It's scary, but let's give it a go and restart it so you know that oh, fantastic. We're on the same page as we're loading this up. I really hope that didn't crash anything. Let me restart this real quick. Okay, no, we're all good. Fantastic. So this is just standard edition. There is a paid edition that you can get through a website called Booth, and that has a couple of different features. But today I am just going to be looking at the free solution. So this is what pops up. You've got this green screen on the right, and you've got the setting window on the left. The first thing to do in this case is what I would do at least is to load a VRM file from my computer so that I can see my avatar. So let's do that. I am going to tell you I have lots of different characters, but I'm going to load this VRM file, which is actually a Webverse file. Oh, something's happened here, which is interesting. I'm actually, you know what? Let's load something else because that seems to have. So there we go. Okay. All right. I know what's going on. Please ignore what I'm about to do here, because it seems as though, there we go. All right. So you'll see here some semblance of a character on the right. I'm now just going to auto adjust the size of this window on the right by clicking the button, and I'm going to go back here and get rid of everything here. So please ignore all that. And now we're looking good. You can see that I have an avatar that's kind of moving around a bit. But what's super neat about VMagic Mirror is that it allows you to map your gestures, your keyboard and mouse automatically to this placeholder 2D version of a keyboard and mouse. So I'm currently moving my mouse around in circles physically, and you can see that represented on the trackpad on the right, and that's just all mapped automatically. If I start typing, you can see that across the keyboard, buttons are being pressed. So it's just really neat, super simple feature. But you can see here that nothing's really happening in terms of the interactivity. You've got a pretty stoic face. Nothing's mapped appropriately. So let's get into how we can do that. So VMagic Mirror has this kind of settings window, but then another settings window. I like to kind of think of the other settings window as more of the advanced settings, but there's a lot of duplication here. But for now, I'm just going to start by going to the streaming tab. I'm going to quickly run you through some of these features, not all of them, but you can see here with window, we can go from a green screen to transparent background. You can also change the background image if you just want a still image of, say, a city landscape or something to VTube off of. That's possible as well. The next interesting thing is the face setup. So you can have lip syncing and face tracking all done through your computer web camera. So I'm going to turn these off for now and then start it back up and see if, yeah, here we go. So what's actually happening here is you can see that the mouth is moving. But you can also note that I'm not actually tracking my face, so it's not tracking my mouth movements. What's happening there is that it's taking the microphone input signal and it's analyzing the structure of the words to see, okay, am I saying a vowel in this word? Is it A, E, I, O, U? Am I talking in this type of tone? It's basically mapping the vocal signal to an adjustment in what are called the blend shapes of the mouth. So it's doing this auto analysis, kind of like the keyboard and mouse, where it's just mapping to what it's processing in real time. I can also track my face using my camera in my laptop. So now I'm actually moving left and right with my head physically, and you can see this represented, but it's not tracking my lips as of now. Um, so this is a really easy way, if you don't have a camera or you don't want to use any form of external tracking to power this, this is a really good way to implement something pretty lightweight for a VTuber setup. But what I'm going to do now is turn both of these off, and we're going to hop around a bit to this external tracker section. You'll see that I've stopped moving because I've disabled the other trackers, but external trackers allow you to utilize external tools to track your motion. So there's this program, and I'm going to go back to Chrome for a second, called iFacial Mocap. It's available for, I believe, desktop, but also on mobile as well. Yeah, so actually, no, I think there is a version for desktop, or maybe it's a similar application. But I'm going to use it on my iPhone, so I've gone in and I've downloaded iFacial Mocap. It costs a couple of bucks, and then I've installed that on my iPhone. So I have my iPhone on my desk at the moment. Um, Now that I've got that up and running, let's bring this one back. I can enable this external tracker. And what I need to do is connect iFacial Mocap and add in my iPhone address. So I'm typing that in right now. And with some luck, it's going to connect. It's going to connect. Oh gosh. Make sure that we're on the same network. Give me one moment here while I triple check some things. Okay. All right. So what should be happening is once I have iFacial Mocap up and running, okay. Um, let's see. This might be work. Yeah, it is working now. So it's actually tracking my mouth movement, and you can see it's doing a lot better job of it. But the iFacial mocap is tracking my mouth movement via my phone, sending that signal over Wi-Fi through to VMagicMirror, and then mapping the blend shapes to that. So it looks like I'm speaking with my avatar. Now I can add some additional things which are really interesting. So if I say create a very sensitive joy expression, if I smile just even 20%, I immediately go to that joy squinty face. I can also do the same with like a my tongue. If I poke my tongue out in real life, I can, let's be angry. Okay, that's just going back to joy. So that's a little confusing, but really what's happening here is that if you calibrate this properly, you can use different facial expressions to trigger different emotions using iFacial mocap. So this is a really fun, extensive way to build out your character expression. So going back to some of the other settings, I can be in hands down mode, so I can just be moving across screen and not really doing anything. Twist motion, it basically allows you to twist at the hips, and that's represented. But uh, what I like to change up a bit is different ways to present what I'm doing. So right here, I've changed to pen tablet mode, and don't think this is on at the moment. But yeah, this it just gives you different ways to utilize things like keyboard, mouses, MIDI controllers, and gaming controllers, which we might get into a bit. So here you can see that I've got the keyboard and the pad. I'm actually going to go back to presentation mode, and I'm going to quickly reset everything. Okay. Um, I can get rid of the shadow, which I might want. I can add wind in or get rid of wind. But I'm just going to keep things here for now. Now the camera is something that can be adjusted in real time. So right here, I'm just clicking my right mouse button, I can move things up and down. I can zoom in and zoom out whenever I'm in this setting. And it's just a really easy way to get your settings right. You can see here that something has happened with the avatar. So I'm actually just going to see if I can load this back in from scratch and have it remap. Okay, that didn't really do anything. um, anyway, uh, we'll see if we can get that corrected in a minute. So what I want to do now is do the device layout, and this will kind of help me get things back into the right place. Um, so I can select each of these tools and remap them to the space that's available. I really don't know why this has happened. This never really happens. But I can move the trackpad around, I can move the keyboard around, so we can see that there. Perfect, perfect. I'm going to bring that one back here and just make sure that it is down a bit further. Okay, so now we have at least a little bit of a better system. It's not ideal though. We'll see if we can figure that out in due time. So I'm going to exit the free layout. And now I am going to quickly hop over to this thing called accessories. And actually, you know what? I need to quickly go back and pose this appropriately. You know what I'm going to do, guys? Bear with me a second. I'm just going to restart. That is not supposed to be like that. And hopefully, with a restart, we'll be back on track. So as you can see, it's a very extensive tool, something that's free and works really well with both local VRMs and VRoid Hub. So if I click this and signed in with my Pixiv account, I could directly access my different um, avatars I have associated with my account. It's just really nice and simple to use. Jeez. Okay. Well, we've got an issue here. Gonna see if I can quickly try get that fixed. Might not have luck though. Um, just gonna go in hands down mode for now because that is distracting me. Alrighty. I'm gonna go back to accessories, and this is a sorry. Let's get this going. Let's zoom back in. Zoom back in. Okay. Great, great, great. So now I can get my accessories going. What you have in VMagicMirror is just a folder that you can add different GLB and PNG images to. This will allow you to bring in other objects to this display. So, I've got a couple of things that I want to look at. I want my Metashima and I want to bring in Feta, who has been a streamer here many times before. So I can adjust the position of these different characters and also where they are associated. So I might just go, well, here, and I might just flip this Metashima 180 degrees and bring it up just a bit more. Actually, let's make that. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to bring the scale down to 0.75. Great, so this is kind of my digital companion in my screen, and then I've also got Feta that I'm going to need to bring down to 0, or probably -2. Let's make him 1.5. Okay, great. 3, 80, and there's Feta dancing in the background, just because I'm pedantic. Let's make this minus 0.7. And minus 5. Okay, so Feta's having a little dance way in the background. And I just want to make sure he's associated with the world. So he's just down in the corner there. Fantastic. So I've now got a still pet, still a 3D file, and an animated pet in the background. And this is just a cool interactive way to build out a scene. And I can get rid of these at any point in this accessory set of settings. Now there is also hand tracking available in the full version of VMagicMirror, which basically enables you to do a full upper body mocap situation using the webcam. I haven't used this yet just because I really like the features that don't seem to be working today too well in the keyboard and the mouse. So I don't really have use for that, but it's really handy to have, and the full version isn't that expensive. So now we have a relatively standard uh, VTuber setup. I can now go like this and I can click and drag, and we now are kind of streaming on top of our desktop. So if I just hide this, maybe I actually want to make this a bit smaller. So bring the corner down here, move my phone there. Um, we can now put this back as transparent and just have me over in the corner. So it's a really nice application to have and something quick and easy that once you have the settings loaded properly, you can just save them and open this up again, and you will have a quick and easy VTuber setup with a couple of clicks of the button. Next step in this process is because obviously I'm streaming here, but I may want to stream elsewhere. The next thing you want to do is incorporate this setup into what is called OBS, and that's open broadcast software. Um, and this is what we have up here. So you'll see images and images and images, and that's to be expected. But OBS allows you to really create what are called scenes that implement multiple sources into a video capture. So I don't want to stop streaming now because we're on YouTube, but if I wanted to create a new scene to stream, I would just add something here, and I would add a display capture source, and this would allow me to link directly out to, say, YouTube, or Twitch or any other streaming service. So once you have that scene set up, you just go into your stream, you select your YouTube account, your Twitch account, you link them together through this portal, and you'll be able to get up and streaming in no time. Awesome. So that kind of covers the VTuber portion of this tutorial. And I'm going to leave the VTuber setup running in the background because I can. And obsproject.com is the place that you can get OBS. I can link all of these different resources and tools in the description, either in Discord, Twitter, on the YouTube comments. We'll figure that out after, but we'll make sure that we share all of this with you. The next step, and kind of something that I've been playing with recently, is this thing called Controller Companion. Controller Companion is an application that was made a fair while back, I think. And I just stumbled upon it because I was wondering if you could do some controller mapping of like an Xbox controller or a PlayStation controller to a web-based virtual world like Webaverse. And of course you could, because the internet. So I downloaded this and got it up and running, and basically allows you to map an Xbox controller's buttons or bindings to different actions on your computer. So we can get up and running in Webaverse using the controller. So the first step with this, and I will note this is specifically, I'm using Windows machine and I am using an Xbox controller. There are a couple of different alternatives for people on Mac or for people with a PS4 controller. Again, these will be linked, but Controlly for Mac apparently is a good alternative, as well as Input Mapper and DS4 for Windows. That will allow you to incorporate the PlayStation controller as well, or some are, cross Xbox and PS4. But all I have is an Xbox, so I'm going to use that. Now, what you want to do is download Controller Companion. I can't remember if it's paid or free. It's $3 on itch, so it's yeah, costs money, but really not that much for what it allows you to do. And you want to get that downloaded and up and running. So I'm just going to open Controller Companion, and that's going to open silently. You'll see down here that it is currently disconnected, which makes sense because my controller is not on. Now I'm going to turn my controller on. You will not be able to see this. Um, let's actually do this. Okay, so Control Companion has been connected. All I did was click on my Xbox button and turn it on, and now it's connected. So let's hop back over to Webiverse and go into the alpha. You can see here I'm actually going to go to the treehouse scene just because that has a lot of different applications that I want to use the controller for. And at the moment, I'm just using my mouse just to get up and running and have things loaded. And I am also once we're chilling on here, um, I am going to go back and open up my okay. Where are we? There we go. I'm actually going to use the avatar that I'm streaming with in Webiverse, which is kind of neat. I like that. And once that's, you'll see down the bottom right hand corner, it's relatively a heavy file, so it might take a second, but I'm loading that in there now. Once that is fully loaded, I will equip that. I'm gonna actually put my little VTuber setup over here. Okay, 1 second. So you'll see now that I have my avatar VRM file ready to use, and I'm going to equip it to myself. So see nothing really happen, but if I zoom out, here I am. So I am VTubing and using my character in the virtual world. The lighting, there's just something with the environment that's kind of making it this lit up, but it would typically look as if it looks down in the bottom left-hand corner. But I think this is just a kind of cool setup to see that you're able to be your character in a VTuber setup and use it in world. Again, I'm just using my keyboard and mouse at the moment, and we're actually going to move on to the next step of mapping the controller. So this one you probably don't need to take too much note of, and the reason being is that I'm using it as a way to visualize what's happening on my controller, so it's not just a black box. I'm going to open up Touch OSC, and Touch OSC is a application that I use and should probably support the developers, um, but it's something that I use for streaming different signals, including MIDI and OSC and game controllers. But it's a really nice piece of software. So let me put this one over here for now. And TouchOSC allows you to bring in signals that are typically sent over Wi-Fi to a local port in your computer and visualize them and use them as triggers. So if you've ever seen like a MIDI controller with pads on it, you can kind of build the same type of setup by adding, an XY patch. You can add in faders. You can add in radars. You can do a ton of different things. What's the last one I wanted to do? Radio. Ton of different elements that you can use to build out these kind of like NPC type things that you can have on, say, an iPad to control MIDI or control OSC. So anyway, we won't get too in depth there, but I'm going to use this program today to show you what my signal coming from my Xbox looks like. So I'm going to open Xbox Touch OSC. And if everything goes to plan, I'm just going to quickly ensure that this is the same. If I press play, it's not going to work because I need to connect things first. So let's just go into connections and let's go to my gamepad and I'm going to get rid of that and browse and find what's at the moment. Searching, searching, searching. Okay, let's see if this works. If it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. Yeah, it's not. Okay. I'm gonna try one more thing. Let's not save this. Let's just go to. As you can see, it can be finicky to utilize all of these different technologies together. But I'm going to search, search, search. And I'm going to view the log to see if anything's coming through there. Okay. Just going to quickly restart the controller, see if there's any issues there. Ah, you know what? I'm just a silly goose. I was using the wrong controller. So now you'll see that we have the right stick mapped, left stick mapped, the D-pad up, down, left, right, all mapped, A, X, Y, B mapped, the bumpers, start and select or whatever that's called. And we've got this nice little addition up the top. You can see the right sticks that have some kind of pressure against them. We can use these as levers. So it's not just on off, but there's different levels to this. Okay, so this is a nice visualization of what's happening. And I think right now we're ready to kind of test this out in world. So when you get a controller companion, nothing's going to be mapped. It's all going to have its own default mapping settings, which it should have. So we're just firstly going to see if this is working, and then back over there. Let's see if it's working, and if it is, beautiful. Okay, now I can run around. Excellent. Now I can look around. Now I can sprint. Now I can aim. I can zoom in, zoom out. So again, this is all something that I've mapped, but when it comes out of the box, by default, it's going to not be mapped. So I can zoom in. Fantastic. All right, so now it's working. We can pretend like it's not working when we get it out of the box. So I can go back into Controller Companion and I can open my settings. Here you'll see all the different methods that can be implemented in terms of just standard setting stuff. But what we're interested in, and I think this is really nice too, it allows you to adjust the mouse parameters so that you don't have to control it in, say, Windows settings. You can do it all here, and we'll talk about why that can be beneficial in a bit. But what we want to look at is the bindings on desktop. I want to edit my bindings. And a binding is basically saying, well, for each of these buttons that you can see here, we're going to associate something on the desktop or the keyboard or the mouse that is linked to that button. So we could reset this all to defaults, but I don't want to wipe everything. I think you can save these as files, but I've taken screenshots as reference for everyone that I can send through after this. But let's say, for example, I wanted to use the A button for a jump. Now, we know that in Webiverse, when you are jumping, you press spacebar. So all I had to do was click on A, and go to keyboard, and I wanted a single key, which was the spacebar, and all I do is press space, and now that is mapped. Let's say with B, I'm going to just use a random button here because R is dispose of weapon or dispose of something that's being held. Let's say I want to make this tab, which goes into kind of my inventory. I could associate it with tab instead, apply that, go back into Webverse, and now you see here when I press B, which is the red button, which you see in TouchOSC, it brings up my inventory. So this is a basic way that you go in, you select a button, you map it accordingly to what you want, and you're basically creating your own bindings, which can be used in whatever way you feel. So let's say, for example, you're interested in doing some form of 2D platformer game in Webiverse, maybe using something like the D-pad is more beneficial for you, where if you press up, you're jumping instead of in a first-person shooter, you may be pressing A to jump. You can kind of map your own controls to this and build it out within the controller. There may actually be a way to do this in Webiverse directly, but really what I'm saying is that this controller system allows you to create your bindings to what you're trying to build out for either yourself or the user. So I'm just going to go back and show some of my bindings here. So currently I am in Webiverse and you see me running around. But the way I've got it set up is my D-pad allows me to zoom in and out by going up and down. And then I am able to, so that's my view. I can also aim. You'll see the gun popped up. So whenever I have a weapon, I can press the left trigger to aim, like you would in a first-person shooter game. I then have the right trigger associated with firing or some form of action tied to the object. So let's say, for example, I'm going to need to remap tab to R so that I can drop this weapon. If I press, oh, I'm going to save it. There we go. If I press B, I've now dropped the weapon. And if I want to get this little elixir, a little potion, you can see it in my hand here. I can use the right trigger instead of shooting. I can use it to drink the potion. So that's all nice and easy. Again, I can press X to pick up whatever weapon I want. So let's say I want one arrow and I want to zoom in a little bit. It's not the best view here because my screen's tiny, but I can use this and shoot. Excellent, very good. Then what else do I have mapped? So sprint I've got mapped as the left stick click in. So just by holding in the left stick, like many first-person shooter games, I'm able to sprint. I've got jump as space. I've got fly as F, so I can fly in the sky pretty easily. And what else do I have? Oh, that's right. I've mapped the right bumper to my emotions. So if I press the right bumper, then use my right stick to move around, I can be alert. And let's try another one. Surprise. Oh no. Okay. And really, that's kind of the setup that I have. Again, change it as you want. I want to provide these bindings as much as possible. There are alternatives like Controlly, like Input Mapper, like DS4 Windows that allow you to do this for Xbox, and as well as PlayStation on Mac. And one last thing that I'll try to show, but because it's being pretty finicky over the last 40 minutes. I don't want to promise anything, but we can actually add in a gamepad here. Now, the gamepad's not going to work as one would expect it to because it will show that. Let me make sure I can get out of hands mode. Yeah, I have no idea what has happened here. So now I'm moving my mouse around. Okay, that's all messed up, but you can see the gamepad in front of me. It will see when I'm using my hands um, on the controller, but when I'm actually playing in World, it doesn't quite work as we'd expect because we are using a game controller and it's picking up the signal the game controller is being utilized, but it is not understanding that we're mapping the game controller to keyboard bindings so that when we are pressing buttons with our gamepad, like I'm going to press left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Um, oh, Actually, no. That one works for some reason, but A doesn't. When I'm jumping, it doesn't. It's actually pressing spacebar on the keyboard instead. So this is a little janky. Maybe something that I'll figure out how to get around. But I prefer to just use one thing or the other at this point in time. But I think it's still cool that it has the ability to integrate the gaming controller as well as a MIDI controller. I've been doing some music stuff with VMagicMirror recently. It allows you to add MIDI controllers in so that if you're DJing or creating music in real time, it maps the elements of the controllers to the avatar. So yeah, we've gone through a lot of things today, but I'm hoping this provides a good overview of what can be done from VTuber setup and mapping that to a game controller, and then being able to use your avatar in world while streaming and with a game controller. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out over Twitter, over Discord. I'm around in the Weber server pretty often. Happy to answer any questions. And if you're looking to build on top of this, really keen to see what you come out with. And obviously, you can see a great case of the controller and the mouse glitching right here. But anyway, really appreciate everyone's time. And hopefully you learned a thing or two.